The Manila Film Center, built by former Philippine First Lady Imelda Marcos, is a place of horror that still sends shivers down the spine of those who remember its dark past. The building was constructed in the early 1980s to promote Philippine cinema and showcase the country's cultural heritage. But beneath the surface of its grandiose facade lies a disturbing history that few know about. During its construction, Imelda Marcos and her husband Ferdinand Marcos, former Philippines president, kept changing the structure's design while construction was underway. This caused major delays in construction and would mean it would not be completed in time for the Manila International Film Festival. However, thousands of workers were employed to speed up the process, working round the clock 7 days a week. It is said that Imelda Marcos was determined to make the Manila Film Center a symbol of the country's cultural prestige. However, the construction of the building was running behind schedule as expected, and the deadline for the Manila International Film Festival is very likely to be missed. In a desperate attempt to speed up the construction process, in spite of clear risks to the health and well-being of the workers, Marcos ordered them to operate on a 24-hour schedule. This meant that construction workers had to work through the night, despite the risk of accidents and injuries. On November 17, 1981, at 3 a.m., a section of the scaffolding collapsed, causing several workers to fall to their deaths, and a good number of others who were alive were either trapped under debris or stuck in quick-drying cement. Rather than report the accident to the authorities, Marcos's people ordered the immediate burial of the bodies under the still unfinished structure. What followed was a macabre scene straight out of a horror movie. The trapped workers screamed and cried out for help, but no one came to their aid. The crew worked tirelessly to complete the building on time, all while the trapped workers slowly suffocated and died, their bodies entombed in the wet cement. The building was eventually completed in time for the Manila International Film Festival, but the horror and tragedy of what had occurred during its construction would never be forgotten. When the building was finally completed, rumors began to circulate about the fate of the workers, but the Marcos regime went to great lengths to cover up the tragedy, and the building was inaugurated without any mention of the accident. But the spirit of the trapped workers never left the Manila Film Center. Visitors and employees have reported hearing screams and moans emanating from the building's steps, and many claim to have seen ghostly apparitions wandering the halls. Even to this day, the Manila Film Center remains a place of horror, a chilling reminder of the dark history that lurks beneath the surface of even the grandest of buildings. As the years passed, more and more people began to report eerie encounters at the Manila Film Center. Some claimed to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the corners of the building, while others reported feeling an inexplicable sense of dread as they walked through its halls. One particularly disturbing incident occurred in the late 1990s when a group of paranormal investigators entered the Manila Film Center in search of evidence of trapped workers' spirits. As they made their way through the building, they heard strange noises and felt icy cold drafts of air, even though the temperature outside was warm and humid. The investigators soon discovered that the building's elevators were malfunctioning, taking them to random floors and opening their doors at odd intervals. One member of the team claimed to have seen a ghostly figure standing in the elevator, staring at them with hollow eyes. But perhaps the most chilling encounter at the Manila Film Center occurred in the early 2000s, when a maintenance worker was tasked with fixing a faulty light fixture in one of the building's bathrooms. As he worked, he heard the sound of a woman crying and turned to see a figure in white standing behind him. The maintenance worker was terrified and fled the bathroom, but the ghostly figure followed him, disappearing only when he reached the safety of the building's entrance. It is believed that this apparition is the ghost of a young woman who was one of the trapped workers, and who is said to haunt the building to this day. Despite numerous attempts to exorcise the spirits of the Manila Film Center, it seems that the building will forever remain a place of horror and tragedy. There are many more haunting stories associated with the Manila Film Center, each one more chilling than the last. One of the most well-known involves a group of dancers practicing in the building's ballroom late one night. As they were rehearsing their routine, they suddenly heard the sound of a large group of people clapping and cheering. At first, the dancers assumed that a group of spectators had entered the ballroom, but when they turned to face the direction of the noise, they saw that the room was empty. The clapping continued, growing louder and more frenzied until the terrified dancers fled the building. Another frightening incident occurred in the early 2000s when a group of teenagers snuck into the Manila Film Center after dark. As they were exploring the building's dark corridors, they suddenly heard the sound of a woman's voice singing an old Tagalog song. They followed the sound to a large room where they saw a figure in white standing in the middle of the space, singing softly. As they approached the figure, they realized that it was a ghostly apparition, and they ran screaming from the building. It's believed that this ghost is the spirit of one of the trapped workers, who continues to haunt the building to this day. But perhaps the most disturbing story associated with the Manila Film Center involves a group of workers who were tasked with repairing a section of the building's roof. As they worked, they heard the sound of whispers and murmurs coming from the darkness below. At first, they assumed that the noises were simply the sounds of the building settling. But as the whispers grew louder and more insistent, they began to feel a deep sense of unease. Suddenly, one of the workers saw a pair of glowing eyes staring up at him from the darkness, and the group fled the roof in terror. To this day, the spirits of the Manila Film Center continue to haunt the building, their cries and moans echoing through its halls and corridors. For those brave enough to enter its walls, the building remains a place of horror and tragedy, a chilling reminder of the dark past that still lingers in the shadows.